All right, guys, welcome to the Walking Dead podcast by the Horror Junkies of Utah. Once again, I am Marcus and have Alex Heinerman with me, and we're going to be talking about the Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 12, No Tomorrow Yet. What did you think of this episode straight off, Alex? I mean, I just want a general impression.
Okay. I've been rewatching Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad, when you ignore nostalgia, is my all-time favorite show. This episode is on par with a Breaking Bad episode. It was on point. I love this episode. So fucking good. It progressed the story. There was plenty of action. There was good drama, good conflict, and it actually ended on a cliffhanger that I care about. And we'll discuss all these points. But at no point when I was watching this episode, like we complained about before, did I think, oh my God, they're just wasting time. They're stalling for something bigger and better. There wasn't much wasted space in this episode, and I loved it. It was very refreshing for the show.
I couldn't agree more. They have everything in this episode, from great action to great story development and even some more character development. I was scared at the beginning of the episode when Carol's going around scavenging to make these brownie things or whatever it was. I'm like, oh great, it's just going to be a filler episode with Morgan and Carol, but it wasn't.
Right, and I think we talked. I don't know about you. I talked to Craig. I always try and get a feed about feel what people are thinking in my feed, and most people were worried that this would be, like you said, a filler episode. And we had talked about it in the last podcast. We were both kind of worried that it would taper off, and I was very surprised. And I think that was kind of the feel I got from a lot of people I talked to about the episode. They were expecting just filler content, and they got the complete opposite, which I think made that episode so much better, as it really surpassed all of our expectations.
It certainly did. It surprised me. So, I mean, we have the opening of the episode. We have Carol out rummaging around, gathering whatever it is she can.
Yeah, she's scavenging for acorns.
Is it acorns?
And she's making cookies with them. And I loved the juxtaposition in the beginning of this, because we always associate Carol with this badass, like a warrior woman. She's almost the Valkyrie of the show, where she's just this hard badass who does what she needs to do. And we really don't associate her with this happy music and baking cookies and giving them out to the neighborhood. I just loved that whole idea of, we have the grisly character who
doing home economics.
She burns people alive. She shoots children, and she's baking cookies to this really happy music. And I loved it. It was so well done.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And then she almost gets like a romantic interest going on there as well.
Right.
Which is surprising, because I always attributed her and Daryl to having this said thing, but I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the impression, when you cruise around on social media, that a lot of people were expecting her to hook up with Daryl at some point. And as much as I love this episode, it did fall victim, we'll discuss later, to the trope that we're getting a lot of story about one of these characters, so something bad's going to happen to them. Kind of the Walking Dead thing, which we've talked about before. But it was within these first few moments of Rick showing up, Morgan, the guy that she delivered the cookies to, got this feeling that something bad was going to happen to at least one of those people.
Definitely. And we have Carol being endorsed by Marlboro cigarettes lately as well. Like, she is like this badass smoker now.
She's the Joe Camel of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, there we go. But so our group shows up and they present this plan. They got food. And you can tell that Carol, she knows something's going on. Something's up. And Rick's like, talk about it, call a meeting. And they have this meeting. And it seems like almost everyone's in agreement except the one character that I wasn't surprised. Well, actually, I was a little surprised. He said, I think Rick gives the group an option. If you have anything to say about our plan, this is how we feed ourselves, but if you have something to say, say your piece now. And of course, Morgan gets up and says, we don't have to do it this way. That surprised me for one reason, and that's because we know Morgan and we know his backstory, and we know where he came with this. Every life has value, but I thought he would have learned another lesson with the wolf. But it seems like he's still on that thing of, you know what, we have to give humanity a chance, I guess.
Yeah, every life is sacred, and it's one of those things that I hate that he's doing this, but it's the character that we've kind of loved to hate because at least you and I, really enjoyed that episode where he went from being a lunatic to this calm guy who's kind of at peace. And now we're kind of seeing the conflict that's creating. And it's really well written, and you know it's well written because everyone hates him now.
Yes.
And we don't hate him because he's a bad character. He's just almost a defiant character. And so this transformation that he's gone under and this clash that he has with Rick's group is interesting, not just in the sense that it's a different idea, but it's so well done that we just fucking hate this guy as a person. And you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Don't you get it? These are bad dudes.
And
so I love the character and I hate the character. So it's really well done.
exactly, it's like they tell him what's happening with Negan's group, and he still is, oh no, sunshine and rainbows, we can make it work. But obviously, Rick's just like, no, it's not going to work that way. He asks everyone else's opinion, but I think we all get it set. And what was funny is the episode also brings up something that I forgot, that Morgan screwed up, but Carol doesn't tell Rick. With the whole wolf situation.
Right.
Like, they have this secret, and Morgan's like, you don't have to carry that, and she's like, carry what? But I totally forgot about that whole thing, that Rick still isn't made aware of that situation that happened. Only a few select characters know about that. One being which is the Doctor, who has her love interest going on that shocked me as well. I mean, there's a lot of love interests in this episode.
Which kind of segues into kind of what happens next, is where Abraham breaks it off with Rosita.
That's what I was about to say. And weren't we talking about that in the last episode where he forgets the necklace?
Right.
And kind of,
he's just so happy. He knows what he has to do. We get another great line from Abraham. Seems like he has a good one-liner. Once a week, he says, why are dingleberries brown? Because that's the way shit is. I love it. And a nice brief cameo from my favorite Eugene with his Virginia is for Lovers shirt.
That was classic. They took such a serious situation. I loved every second of it, because as soon as Abraham's gone, she is obviously emotionally distraught, and we just have Eugene sitting there eating that pancake cookie looking. I loved it.
I have one qualm with that scene, one issue, and that's how almost uncharacteristic that seemed of Abraham. So I'm wondering if they're going to expand on that more, because Abraham's usually like the rugged, like the tough guy, but you can love him, like the big bear.
And he wasn't.
He came off like such an asshole.
Yes, he did.
And so I don't know if they're going to expand on that more or not. But yeah, that seems so uncharacteristic of his character to just show up and be an asshole. And maybe it's just one of those things where I don't know how you would make it a little bit more lighthearted. Maybe he had to be that way, but it still seemed very out of place. So I'm hoping they kind of expand on that more as they go into this whole Abraham leaving Rosita thing.
Oh, very much so. And then, I mean, our group pretty much comes to the conclusion that they're planning this secret attack battle thing out.
Yeah, the attack recon mission.
Yeah, and they go out there with this plan that they're going to use the idea that we actually did kill, I forget his name, the leader of Hilltop.
Gregory.
Gregory, there we go. We actually did kill him. We brought the head. That's like they're in. That's how they're going to get in. And I love that. Another thing that I loved about this episode is there's a scene there where, they're picking the head out. And they're like, but his nose doesn't look like that. And Rick just grabs it up and starts pounding his fist into this decapitated zombie head, messes it up, and puts it back down. And they're like, okay, that could work. And the guy's just like, man, these saviors, they're bad, but they don't got anything on you. And it just shows how crazy Rick can be at times.
Yeah, I love that scene. There were a few other things that were going on, but we'll talk about one that I want to talk about here in just a minute. I don't know if you read or not, but one of those heads, here's your trivia for the day, was modeled after Johnny Depp. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I did. I seen that on
the cool.
internet. Yeah.
Yeah,
he made a cameo appearance.
Yeah, his modeled his head, and as we'll discuss probably here in just a minute, I thought it was rather interesting that now Gabriel is out and about. He's not just with them, but he has a gun. He wants to help out. And I love that Rick asks him why he's still wearing that. And my initial response, his priest get up. It's not a good way to put it, but his priest attire. My first thought was because I don't have blood on it. But I think it's really cool that he's kind of taken Morgan's place. That's kind of how I thought about this episode. We have Morgan, who used to be this badass. He fights people, and now he's this peace, love, everyone's awesome. And Gabriel is now turning into peace, love, and awesome to I am almost a warrior of Christ is kind of how I think of it. He's a man on an actual mission. He knows what he has to do to survive. So I've kind of like this transformation between the two. Most people hated Gabriel, and now he's okay. Most people thought Morgan was okay, and now everyone hates him.
And another event is conspiring here, and that's Carol and Rick have a little bit of a disagreement, would you say?
Yeah, almost a scuffle about what to do with Maggie.
Yeah, why is she here? She shouldn't be here. And Rick's kind of like, she's here,
Yeah, it was her. Yeah, it was her choice. She wanted to be here. She felt like she had to do this because she's the one who told him that's what we were going to do.
Yeah.
So she's there out of what she feels to be an obligation.
And so they're planning this recon mission. They got everything ready to go. And I don't know, does anything else important come up before we get the first attack on these saviors?
No. Well, there's something I want to discuss here in just a minute after they start the attack. The conversation between Glenn and Heath, but I want to talk about it more here in more detail in just a minute.
Well, because, it's kind of like there's a lot of tension building. We got the attack ready to go. We also have a conversation in a vehicle between, who's in the vehicle?
You're thinking of Jesus, Father Gabriel, and Tara?
Yeah, I'm bad with names today, but they're having a conversation about love.
Yeah, and it's like a bad setup to a joke.
Yeah.
A priest, Jesus, and a lesbian are in a car. Yeah. But you're still kind of skipping ahead because that's...
is that after?
That's as they're carrying out. They kind of happen at the same time.
Okay.
So you have the guys who bring the quote-unquote head of Gregory. These guys standing on guard, and they kind of give him the stink eye. And there's enough tension that you are thinking, I don't know if they're going to pull this off. They don't drag it out too long, and they don't just go, I don't know. Okay, yeah, that's not him. Ha 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 ha.
Well, in this,
it's just that perfect amount of timing between, that the head is a fake, and those guys don't know, but they're very suspicious.
Yes, very much so. And then, he does that little playing with the jaw.
Right.
And it's like believable too. He's like, okay, I'll go get your friend. Walks in, and as soon as the one guy disappears, the other guy gets taken out real quick. Stealthy mission. And the reason I love the pacing of the suspense in this
Yes.
it's not just immediate, but it's like, okay, now it's working. The plan's working. Guy
Right.
comes out with um, so and so.
With the hilltop guy. I want to say it's Craig, but I don't know if that's right or not.
Yeah, and then they take that guy out. So now they're ready. Their two outside guards are done with, and they're ready to head in.
Right.
But while this is all happening, correct me if I'm wrong, this is all happening, don't we have Maggie and Carol having little qualms?
Yeah, this is kind of all in that same moment. Um, I think that happens after the guy pulls the fire alarm when we have the discussion because Maggie's freaking out about how they need our help. They need our help.
Yes. So
So
they enter this
compound.
compound, and you wanted to discuss
Yes.
a discussion between Glenn
Glenn and Heath.
and Heath.
What I like about this is it explores a new dynamic of the show. Very rarely do we get these new ideas in the show where we have conflicts, like internal conflict. And this is the first time that these guys have really, like Rick's group, have been the aggressors.
Yes.
These guys are attacking, as far as they know, innocent people. They know they're not innocent, so
But they also know they're not giving them a choice at all.
Right.
It's
They're
just
killing these people cold-blooded in their sleep, which is something that they've never done. And we kind of alluded to the scene where Heath is talking to Glenn in the meadow about, have you ever done it before? Those things that keep you awake, that keep you from closing your eyes and going to sleep at night. It's got to be worse than that.
Yeah.
And it's something that this group has never really had to encounter. I mean, we know that Abraham and Sasha and Daryl were attacked, but Glenn and Heath had no qualms with these guys. They'd never met them. They'd never seen them. They don't know what they're about. I hate that term, but they're just brutally killing these people without giving them a chance in their sleep. And it's not with guns. It's a very personal thing.
Yes, a very personal, very quiet thing. But so you have where Glenn enters that room and he almost saves the other guy because he's getting ready to do it, but Glenn just says, "Let me do it." Pretty much.
Yeah. Just takes the knife from Heath.
Yeah, and
kills the guy.
Right there was that like him. I'm gonna spare you having to live with this.
Yep. And then, it brings you back to reality again. That's one of the things I really like about this, in a not so subtle but subtle way, because we have Polaroid pictures of what we assume are the victims of Negan and his bat, Lucille.
Yes.
And so it does this really good job of reminding not just our characters, but the viewers,
us as well,
about why they are doing what they're doing.
That these people are not innocent at all.
Right.
And we're just delivering justice early to them.
Yeah. But I just love that conflict because they've never really explored the dynamic of them being the aggressors on people that they don't know, for sure. I mean, they're taking the Hilltop people at their word that these are bad dudes.
Yeah, well, I think...
So, and obviously they ran into Daryl again, the Daryl Abraham thing, but especially with Heath, but with Glenn, they've never
with the
had
whole
to
confrontation over their two groups, they are, like you said, taking them at their word. And I don't think Rick cares. I think he would do it either way, just get food to his group. Rick's the kind of like, we need to get it done because we need this.
Right.
And without it, we don't have anything. And then, for how much a badass Abraham is and how on point he always is, he kind of falls off.
Yeah, he drops the ball. Maybe he's busy thinking of one-liners. Maybe he's busy thinking about his new girlfriend. But lets a guy get away from him.
And pulls the alarm. And that's when all hell starts to break loose. And bullets and gunfire everywhere. We have a situation now, okay, the alarm's going off, and that's when we have Carol and Maggie on the outskirts, and Maggie just is like, "No, we got to go help them." And Carol's like, I forget the term she uses, like, "You don't need to be that person," or something along those lines. And I think it's Carol stating that, like, you have more responsibility than just you now. You're carrying the life of another.
Right.
And I don't think Maggie's come to grips with that yet.
Yeah, and I think it's also something she's probably not thinking about, if that makes sense.
Yeah, at that time,
that the group is what's more important than her child.
her unborn child, yeah.
Right.
And I believe it makes us feel like, I don't know, like, Carol's almost comes into this, like, motherly role for Maggie, in my opinion. But
Right, and I'm going to stop right there because they do talk about that. The guy that she kisses talks about how how do you do it? How do you do it? Oh, you're a mother. That's how you do it. You
Yeah.
do what's, and so she really does play the role of the mother in this episode.
most definitely. And then that breaks off with, is it Carol or is it Maggie that ends up killing, like, a zomboid?
I'm not sure who kills a zombie, and
I thought
just
one of
because
them's, like, caught off guard, and the other kills the zombie, and then it just leaves it at that, and then we jump back to uh, Jesus, Tara, and priest guy Gabriel in the car, and they see some people hauling ass out of the compound, and Gabriel is with, I believe, Tara, starts firing at them.
Right.
And then we get this really, like, delivering God's justice one shell at a time type thing.
Yeah, I've been trying to find the quote that he says where he really goes
Biblical.
full Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Before
Taking
before
this guy
shooting this
out.
guy. And like I'd said before, I think this is really a big turning point of what we think about Father Gabriel and what we think about Morgan, because
It's
now
it's the death of one personality in that guy, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, it's a good turning point. We can see that Gabriel can actually hang in this world. He's no longer getting in the way, but he's actually being productive and not just productive, but he understands. It's not just kind of a blind following thing. He's not just doing it to fit in with the group. He actually understands more about what's going on, and he feels his role in this world hasn't changed in the sense of he has to deliver bad. He has to be this evil person, but just what's good and what's bad has changed.
Well, and he also has come into a calming, more collected personality as well. You remember him from the very beginning when we're introduced to him and he's surrounded by those zombies and just panicked and frightened, and he was that guy for a while, and now he's just kind of more calm and collected and ready to do real work.
Yeah.
Not be the crazy hysterical person that needs help every second. And there's chaos is pretty much happening now. We got the alarm sounding, we got people running everywhere, we got gunfire, we have, this is one of the episodes that I was like, yes, some action, finally. Some good action.
And the other thing I like about this whole action scene before we kind of move on is the whole discussion with Heath and Glenn. I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. My dog's going ape shit. But we had that discussion with Heath. He doesn't want to kill an innocent person, he doesn't want to kill a non-zombie. I shouldn't say innocent person, but he doesn't want to kill a zombie or non-zombie. Glenn has never killed a non-zombie. What's it going to be like? Glenn kills the two guys in the bed, and now they're forced into this position where they shoot and kill these people.
Oh yeah.
So now this Heath character knows that he has in fact done that very thing that made him so afraid, and it wasn't as much of a conscious decision. I mean, like we talked about, we stab somebody. That's such a personal thing.
But to shoot someone is...
But now he's shot these people through a door, and he knows that he's killed people. So I'm kind of interested to see how that kind of dynamic plays out, because now that was such a huge focus and such an interesting idea.
It was,
and it kind of came full circle in one episode, which was awesome.
Well, and then I love this part where they're being pursued down this hallway. They run into this armory. They slam the door, and they just both start firing at the door, not knowing what they're hitting, not knowing if they're killing anyone at all. And then they slowly open the door, and it reveals their victims, I guess you'd say.
Right.
And you can kind of see it on both their faces, like, well, there's no turning back now.
Yeah.
We've done this. This awful act, but this is us. This is our doing. And, God, I mean, it seems like that action scene takes a while, but it's good action. It's fun, Hollywood, boom, 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 stuff going on. And then it kind of settles down, and we think everyone's been killed off, that we've solved everything. Yay, victory for us. And they're going through these vehicles, aren't they? Like outside.
Yep, they had all of the vehicles that belong to Negan's guys. They're going through them, what ones they're going to take, what's in them. I presume that's what they're doing, because they kind of say, you want to ride home with us?
And then out of nowhere, some dude on a motorcycle just tries to make a break for it. And I believe it's Daryl that shoots him, or...
I'm not sure who is the one who ends up shooting, but I know Daryl's the one who
gets over to him.
Yeah, takes him down, starts beating him up.
And Rick comes over and puts that good old Colt or whatever it is right in his face, and then on the radio, drop your weapons now, or something like that.
Yeah, drop the gun, names it, drop the Colt 45, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, whatever. And at first he's like, really? And then like she accurately describes what's going on, and then he's like, we're being watched.
Yeah, says, why don't you come on out?
And then
they tell, over the radio, she tells Rick that, we're going to stay right here because we have something that you might want, and it's Maggie and Carol.
And then the episode ends like that on such a good cliffhanger, in my opinion, because we see Glenn's face. Like, he's 100% distraught now. And who knows, like, maybe this group is bigger than we thought. Maybe this is not even a real compound, just an outpost type thing. What else do they got up their sleeve? We have no idea. And I don't know. What do you think is going to happen next?
I am not sure, but I loved the ending. I'm going to presume that they're going to meet up with these people and maybe, let's say, talk it out. But there's a lot of rumors going around. I'm trying to ignore them. But one of the things is they think the internet, the powers that be, are thinking that might be Carol who ends up being sacrificed by Negan. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of talk. It's also hard because you know that there's like 4 more episodes left, and they've already confirmed that Negan won't be in until the last episode.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't want to think there's 3 episodes of filler before they end up meeting him to discuss what's going on. So I don't know. It's really hard when you have all these confounding ideas and things that are rumored and things that you have been told by the people who are the powers that be, and how much you don't want there to be more filter after such a great episode, or filler, sorry, not filter. So it's really hard to say. I'm expecting a filler episode, but I don't know.
I do want to touch on one item, and that is, spoiler alert, so if you don't know, Glenn is killed in the comics by Negan.
Yes.
And it is
it's him?
Huh?
Whoa. Really? Oh, no.
But,
I might as well stop watching the show.
You know where we were talking about this earlier, and they're in there and they're looking at those photographs
Right?
of the people's heads beat in, and Glenn's the one that sees them first. That was foreshadowing to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm torn between, is it their foreshadowing that uh, will end up being what happens in the show, or are they going to be too afraid to kill a main character? So it's really hard for me to say one way or the other whether I was on board with that whole Glenn sees these pictures because he's going to be the one to get his head beat in.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I would think that, but they've already shown that they're really, really standoffish about killing off main characters lately. So
Very much so.
I'm not jumping to conclusions.
What was your favorite part of this episode? I mean, since we both enjoyed it, what was your favorite scene or moment or character or anything?
Well, like I said, my favorite thing was the discussions between Heath and Glenn. And again, we run into this rut with this show a lot of the times where very rarely are people presented with such deep choices. I always go back to season 1 where they're at the Center for Disease Control,
Uh-huh.
and they know that there is no hope, pretty much. I mean, even the guy tells Rick that this disease lives inside all of us and we're all going to get it. So kill yourself now. It'll be harmless. It'll be painless. You don't have to worry about becoming a monster. You don't have to worry about seeing the world collapse. Or you can keep going for no reason at all. You can just struggle until you die. So that's always the one I go to about these really complex choices that can exist only in this world.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of not on that level because that's such a deep discussion that they had, that internal conflict. But in this episode and lately, this is one of the best examples of that I can think of. Is this rule is kill or be killed, which they've talked about before. But do you have it in you to take a life in the middle of the night to someone that you have no personal issues with, that you've never met, you've never dealt with, and you've only heard bad things from other people? Do you take that chance? Can you trust one other group enough to kill for them? It's not in Glenn's best interest that this guy dies. It's in the Hilltop's best interest. But because it's in the Hilltop's best interest, it's in Glenn's interest. So there's a lot of this crazy internal dialogue that they have to be going through. And they really haven't talked about that in previous episodes. And I loved that whole dynamic of this episode.
Well, definitely. And I think my favorite part would either have to be our very serious scene that gets really jokey there for a moment with Abraham and breaking it off, and then dude in the doorway. Name.
Eugene.
Eugene. I'm not on names
Eugene.
tonight. I don't know why Eugene. There we go. I love that scene. But I think my favorite scene in this whole movie is now we've seen the birth of a character. Not that it's a new character, but I think that Gabriel's like birth. He's come into the world, into reality now in this episode. So
yeah, like a metaphoric rebirth of the character. Obviously, not a real literal rebirth. But I get what you're saying.
But I mean, I'm surprised. I would have to say this is one of probably my favorite episode since the Morgan episode with learning where he came from.
Right.
I mean,
I don't disagree. And in fact, there's part of me that likes it even more. And again, that's just because of how well it's progressed the story. The episode with Morgan and John Carroll Lynch really didn't move the story forward. It was clearly just a retrospect and discussion of Morgan. It was just the development of one character. In this episode was the development of a lot of characters.
Yes, a lot of characters, and not in the filler type way. Just very, very well written, and just well done. I have to applaud The Walking Dead on this one.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. Like I had said off the top, I think a lot of people were expecting this filler episode where stuff just kind of happened leading to what eventually happened, where they would eventually get to the compound. And it was refreshing to see that the writers, like you said, they knew they could tell a story while tell individual stories while progressing the main story. We learned a lot about the individual characters while the entire story of the survivors was also moving.
Most definitely. Well, hey guys, you know what? Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below, and plan on tuning in for our next episode next week. I'm really interested to see how they're going to follow this one. Anyways, I am Marcus.
And I'm Alex.
And we want you guys to have a great, horrific night. Stay scary, junkies. We'll see you later.
Ooh.